think my favorite times was honestly sectionals and band camp. My first 2 years we used to be, we were in the English Inn, and the tuba players, just because of the size of our horns, we had to be in someplace with tall ceilings, so we always used to have to go to the pool. So most of the time we're inhaling chlorine. I remember we used to just chill in the pool, and then heck, sometimes we just took our horns off and started playing football in the pool. And I remember one of the fondest, this is one reason I love our directors, because they themselves have a balance between work and play. And I remember the first time we were at the English Inn at the pool practicing, we just, we were like, man, it's hot. Let's just take our horns off and just play football in the pool. And I was a first year, and then Bill Pease walks in. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be bad. And he just took his shirt off and jumped in there with us. That's just the type of guy he is. Once we were in the scavenger hunt, and the tuba section, as always, we're at a mighty disadvantage, because our section usually has, now it's about, I think, 28, 29 members. Back then we were lucky to have 20 or 15. And so you're always at a disadvantage with big sections that have 40, 50 people. But that year I remember, so most sections, they have the luxury of spreading out the work. You guys do this part, you guys do this part, and there's skits in there, there's things you have to find, and they can dish out the work. For the tuba section, because there's so few, you have to do almost everything together. So, when it came to this one year, we just had to do the skits as they came, and then I remember, like, we were doing stuff, and they're like, oh, you got to do a Disney skit, and we didn't have time to prepare. So they're like, you're on deck, you have about 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes, all I remember is that when they found out they had to do a Disney song, my name being Ali, everyone turned around and looked at me. Then I got swarmed by my section, got, I think, a bandana on my head, sunglasses on, and put me on a chair. And everyone had little baskets they put on their heads, and they carried me across stage singing Prince Ali. And there was a time when, in my younger days, when the whole tuba section wore sport bras to practice. I don't even know why I can't remember why we did this anymore. But we did. It was just crazy things like that. We just had a good time, and it's, the funny part is when you do crazy things like that, it never took away from our practice moments. It was, it was just fun, and at the same time we worked really hard. Music-wise, one of my favorite shows we played was the Journey show in 2008, I believe. For me, I think that was probably one of my favorite shows out of all 6 years. I was the tuba section leader. It was my second and last year's tuba section leader, and really it was just everything kind of locked into place. We were against Maryland, and then just at the same time, that energy went to that the football team had went to the band, and for us the music was written incredibly well, and it's just, I think that was one of the peak years for the CMB tuba section when I was there. And really, we just had a great player. So it was the right music, right football game, the right players, and it just made an incredible show. And yeah, I love, that was by far my favorite show. That was the premier tuba song. So many, heck, sometimes there were just games we just, that was the moment we were waiting for. Sometimes not even the halftime show. And that was something, it's funny if you looked at it, because so we had like 2 lines of tuba players. And it's funny when you can tell, like, the directors are thinking down there, or the drum major are thinking what to play next. And you'll see me and my buddies, man, doing this the whole time. And that was the tuba song. I can't believe I forgot that. We lived for that song. And it's just like, that was also, and the thing was that people got so excited about that song, it was hard to get them to play well sometimes, because being a tuba player, you can play loud, but you have to play in a controlled manner. But even our best players, because they get so excited, they start blasting. But yeah, no, it was always, and we always knew when we did a good job in that song, because when we played really well, whether it was even carrying on a basketball band or anything, everyone would turn around and like look at us, giving us like, man, that was good. In terms of visuals, our favorite one was always Tag, just because there was just so much into that visual, and we also felt like we had bragging rights as tuba players that our horns were bigger than everyone else's. Like when you're carrying an instrument that's over 30 pounds and you're jumping higher than some of the other band members, it used to become a big competing, and we used to compete with each other in like the sets that we jumped at, who could jump the highest with our horns on. Tag was also a little special because I used to be a drill instructor when that like the original tag dance came out, so I got to like participate with those people that made that. So that visual was a little special to me. And I think some of ours, I think the aggressive visuals were always my favorite. Not everyone liked them because they really took a lot out of you. And I was really fortunate. We had David Goslin and Parker Miles who really took the visuals to the next level. And I don't know if it was any particular visual, but it was just like we were moving about 50% of the time. And when we were standing, and I think those guys even there were some people that might really want to switch to tuba after they took the visuals to that level. My very first year, I believe we were playing Florida State, and they were either in the top 10 or top 5. And this was a game, I mean, we were expected to get killed, hands down. And even going in, even the marching band, many of the members were very skeptical if we were going to win. And back then, this was the first time I heard the Florida State band, and I think, they're one of the big hot shots in the ACC in terms of marching band. And when they come and they're playing that Tomahawk song, and you just heard that the whole time, and we won the game, and I just remember that was the first time I've seen a crowd of people. I don't think even since that game I've never seen people rush the field like they did in that game. Maybe because the rules they started putting in new rules after that game, but everyone, I remember, rushed down to the field. The field was just filled, you couldn't see the grass. And people were climbing on the goalposts trying to take them down. And I just remember after that, Mr. Pease just looks at the drum line and kind of starts making them play the drum beat of Florida State's, their Tomahawks, I don't know what it's called, but their Tomahawk song. And you just seeing all of UVA in unison doing no, just to the Florida State fans. It was, I don't know, sportsmanship, how great that is as being a classic school, but that was just so much fun. And yeah, no, I don't think I've seen, that was by far my favorite, and we weren't even allowed to go down for post-game show, but it was just so crazy. There was so much excitement in the air. One of the best bowl game experiences I had was my first year at the Music City Bowl, and it was in the Battle of the Bands, and it was just, I think for our band, it was one of those moments where it's one of those, those of you, if you watch Rocky, it's like when you're the underdog, and then you just accomplish something that just wasn't expected. That's what the Music City Bowl, when we were in the Battle of the Bands, and we beat Minnesota. That was surreal. I think even then, when we had to march out for the Battle of the Bands in Minnesota, it's just the crowd back then the band was a new thing to the crowd, and I'm not sure exactly if the Virginia crowd expected a lot out of us that came out to the Music City Bowl. They were just like, oh, this is an event, but you could just see how much pride was on their faces after we'd won the Battle of the Bands at the Music City Bowl. So that was, I think, I still have those are incredibly fond memories for me. The other one I went to was against Texas Tech. It was the Gator Bowl. I don't know. I don't recall I'm trying to think. It was a fun experience overall, but I think my favorite bowl would still have to be the Music City, just because it's being a band member or anything, there's very few chances you have to have moments like that, to like really shine when not many people expect you to. And it was just one of those. That was just one of those moments. Texas Tech was. I mean, it just didn't have that sort of, because we'd already become great. You know, and not that we don't strive to become better and better, but there was no surprise that kind of came out of it. So yeah, no, I like the National Music City Bowl a lot. I'll be honest, I don't know. I just remember one day I was we do a annual high school camp, and I used to love helping out with that. And I went, and you know, I remember Mr. Pease comes. He's like, "Yeah, get ready. You got a photo shoot tomorrow. We'll take care of." I was like, "What do you mean photo shoot?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, just take your horn down there. They'll fill you in on the way." Apparently, everyone else knew what was going on. I had no idea. So I put on my marching band T-shirt, had my tuba, and I go there. And this woman was like, you know, pose for me, and I was like, I don't know what do you want me to do? I mean, I have a tuba here. This is not something that's common. I still brag about that trading card today. I mean, I'm bold enough to maybe even say, like, nationally, there's very few tuba players, let alone band players, but tuba players that can say they're on their trading card. Maybe the Ohio State tuba player because he dots the I, but no, very few people get to say that. I show it to people. It's honestly, it's one of those things, they don't believe you, and then you pop it out, it's like, whoa. No, that was surreal. It was just one of those things. Well, I love that about band. It was just, it opened so many doors. You know, I got myself on a trading card, but even like that leads to like other things, like, you know, we went to Australia, I remember, and we were just hopping different restaurants playing in like a group of 10. It's just random things would come, like experience would come. It's like, oh, you guys want to try this? All right, let's do this. You know, 5-10 of us would go there. I remember we also, we used to play at Kroger. There was 5 of us that would go every Friday to play at Kroger. That came out of nowhere. And they were like, I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I think that stuff's great. I think whenever you're in a sign that you have, when you're in a time of blessing where you have a lot of things going for you, I think really it's on those people to really help give back whatever they can. And I'm glad the marching band does that. For a college student, it's pretty cool. You know, you get to be on the radio, on a trading card. I mean, heck, you're living the dream. I think the biggest thing is, it was a different time, I think, and it's just like, you know, people have phases of their life. I think when I was in the marching band, that was the building phase, starting a new program, and it was just different because nothing was established. There was no traditions. There was no way that you did something. It was on us to come up with the traditions. And, you know, Mr. P's, I can say this now because now that I've been separated from the band for a little bit, Mr. P's always said, you know, that you will set the tradition for the next 10, 20 years. And we see that there's still the pieces of that, like our pregame, that you can see that still go back to the very first couple, 2-3 years. And, you know, hopefully it'll stay that way. It's become something that everyone loves. And even the band loves it, the crowd loves it. But that time was just different because the band was going to succeed or fail by what we did. There was nothing established. Now I think the band's in a different phase. Now it's that there's a very high standard set. And now, I remember those first couple of years, we barely finished pregame by the end of band camp. Now it's like, in 2 days you're almost supposed to be finished with pregame and learning halftime show for the first game. So that, I think that's really the biggest difference now. Now I think they're trying to learn to improve. It's more, now it's getting into the finer details, which it's a big thing too, because when you strive for perfection, that's a sign that you have a great program, that you're working on very small things. I think at least the new players that come, one of the few things they knew was what it was. It was funny, being a tuba player, you always have the stereo, like every section has a stereotype that, trumpets have their egos. Drumline, they're just those hardcore guys that just they're like the jocks. And tubas were always, I think, shown, they were like, the stereotype was that we were lazy, but I don't think that's the case anymore. And very few people know, because they don't remember those times when we had to take it from that lazy attitude and just completely shift it. We went from something that was, it's like, we're not going to be able to become those sort of sections, or become, we're tuba players, what can we do? But really it's like, oh, we're going to push the mark. I think that was one thing, like people like, now they see that it's completely different. If you were to compare one year to another, it's just, I don't think there's a comparison anymore. The other thing I think is, I'll say this as from being a tuba player, people don't know how much time we spent in sectionals, and I think not in how hard, like a couple of things, that we started doing breathing exercises. I remember the first couple of days of band camp, we'd barely touch a horn, maybe an hour, when we were on our own. Like an hour or 2 hours was just dedicated to breathing, to getting us loud. That's one side that people don't see, that like it really was, we had to really build up an endurance. So that aspect, I think this was kind of behind locked doors. Every year it gets better and better. We would have never dreamed the band would be as big as it is this year. That many players and that much sound. That was something we would have never seen coming, and look at it now.